Welcome everyone. This is a product review on the Laxball, which is a biofeedback game which you control the movement of a ball with your actual brain waves to a certain extent, but one of the problems is these all tend to work off of GSR meters of one type or another, so they're sensing these kinds of energies. You don't use anything connected to your head. You're touching particular electrodes which are sensing mostly galvanic skin responses, which then can be turned into certain movements. This is a common technology that's been around for many years, and there are much better ones out now in general. I had one of these original type things, not by this manufacturer, but over 30 years ago, which you actually moved a skier down a hill. Quite interesting and a lot of fun for your actual biophysical training. I mean, there's an awful lot to train and to get used to responses, whether it is directly coming from consciousness or indirectly through these GSR meters, galvanic skin response. I will be reviewing several of them, and there's a lot of cool technology out there that any person interested in techno-mage empowerments should be involved in. This is part of the next level of consciousness-empowered machines and assisting. Now, the use of biofeedback and all these things is certainly not new. It goes back to the 60s, actually. It was relatively popular in the 70s and is having a new popularity recently, and professionals have been using this in the psychological field for many years, using very expensive sensing tools, etc. Now, the whole idea is to move this ball from this company, Lax, which is really, should foretell a bad organizational name to begin with. LAX is generally known as an airport, and even secondly, this is often stated as LAX as in lacrosse, and if you punch in LAX, you'll either get an airport or lacrosse as a general showing there. So using that term is very poor and further complicates this manufacturer's misunderstanding, and really doesn't care what anybody thinks about their technologies as they're, and I will get more into that. But when we really get down to all this, you're moving it through, and unfortunately, because the system didn't work and was unable to get operational, I can't give a entire review on how it works. It seems interesting in its own way, even though moving a ball through different 3D obstacles isn't exactly the most exciting thing, even though it appeared that some of these obstacles and the music involved were relatively entertaining. The actual setup that comes with it, you have to log on. This is always a problem because it doesn't seem to transfer data as well as when you're using an actual disk. There is a driver you have to download. That driver then needs to connect with the actual system itself, and you're using a off-the-shelf ThoughtStream biofeedback unit. These approximately retail for around $100 to $120, and it's a standard unit. It has a standard actual sensor on it, and this is all what you get with it. And then you get the actual connection that you log on to, go to their website, and download the actual games itself and the driver. Now, the problem is there's a lot of old information there for people who have very old systems, which complicates what to download to begin with. This is a bad idea because if someone has an old system, they can certainly contact you and you can leave a note to that. People that, and you're talking about people that have 10, 20, 30-year-old ridiculous things. Everybody's really, at this point, is using the basic Windows 10. If they're not, you can ask someone to contact you to keep the kind of information they keep giving you there that's confusing you. But you have to then download a driver, which then integrates with it. So it's two different programs, and this is inherently a very bad way to do things. You should have everything in one package, download it, click it, and it works. When you try and hook up systems to drivers and other things, particularly when they seem to be done through downloads on the internet, there's inherent problems. Even some devices don't work when you're using CDs in your computer. But generally, that works well, even though I've occasionally had problems there as well. Needless to say, the driver and the software that was downloaded did not work and integrate. There was no way of fixing it. Now, what do you do then? Unfortunately, there's really not much you can do, and certainly the manufacturer, who I had direct contact with, who seems to be doing this as a secondary job, some person at that particular company didn't bother to get back to you till about 8 o'clock at night at their time after he finished his other things. This is obviously, this is a German company, and like so many German companies, they have horrible, horrible customer service. They don't really know what they're doing. Their technology is backwards. In general, the actual English that was included with this particular game was third grade quality, misspelled words, complete misunderstanding, because like most Europeans, they refuse to hire native speakers and use very primitive translation software. Probably this was done years ago and never updated. Very typical of the sloppy, backward-thinking, incompetent Germans, which somehow people have thought differently of. If you know anything about them and their products, you'll know how backwards they are. So Eurotronics, the company that kind of makes this or slapped their name on it, where this guy does apparently as a hobby. This is not a game company from what I can see, or what else they make is really unknown. It seems to be this guy's private project, which is very typical of the Germans, who are allowed to do things and financially supported to put out products where they basically have no competition and don't really care. Now, I purchased this off of eBay from a person out of Australia because there's no decent marketing either, typical of German incompetency. Of course, this guy doesn't care because it's just a hobby. Yeah! In between beer drinking and hosen wearing. So the whole idea is Donato Espinosa out of Australia sold this through eBay and may still be doing so. Now, as with everything I purchased from him, that's around $300 American. As soon as I had problems with this unit, he completely washed his hands of it. Go talk to the techs. I have nothing to do with it. There's nothing at all with this. I have no communication with the company. I don't do anything else in terms of any of that. Well, we certainly understand the tech aspect. But here again, just like their ignorant father company, who has no customer service or understanding of business, like all of these Germans, is the fact that as a seller, a retailer of a product, you're responsible for it. And you, if there is ultimately a refund that has to be given, you have to give that because you are the retailer. You have to okay it. He refused, plain and simple, to do that. So don't buy from this guy. He has no idea of business. One thing after another saying, well, I sent you over to the tech. Well, the tech people couldn't fix it. They did not get any money from me directly. They cannot refund me directly. Plain and simple. It has to come from the buyer. This kind of idiocy, which the company apparently agreed with, saying how great this bozo was and that the terrible service he gave me was wonderful. Yeah, let's have a drink and dance in our little leather pants. Very typical of the arrogant Germans and their incompetency on every level possible. Certainly, anyone who has to be very careful and never buy something that is Laxball, LAX, the airport, or La Crosse, whatever that horrible name is. Certainly not to get such a terrible product like this that has no backing to it. The tech was the same old stuff when they were told, maybe you should integrate this into one disk so everybody can make sure it works. Yeah, sometime in the future when the world ends, run for the chopper! The typical moronic stuff you get from these bozos. So the point is, with all this kind of nonsense that you get from this company that can't help whatsoever and wants to waste your time. I mean, I spent hours and hours trying to get this particular tool to work. I tried it on 3 separate computers. It doesn't work. The driver will not work. And of course, you hear this with everybody. We've never had that problem before. There was really never any extension to say, hey, let me send you a new one. Send back this and we'll send you a new one. We'll look at this, make sure that everything is working properly in terms of the actual sensing device. Because the bottom line is that the sensor did not recognize the computer program. So when you plugged in the actual thought stream unit, it said it was not plugged in. So this was done on 3 different computers with the same different things. Not only that, there are 3 different makes of computers. Because there are integration problems you may have with one computer or another, but this is a typical problem that you obtain when very poor technology is put together. Further, when someone doesn't apologize and say, gee, I'm really sorry for all this, and send it back, let us check us, and if you can't get this working, we're happy to give you a refund. That's what a real business would do, not being arrogant. This person from the customer service at Eurotronics lied to me on numerous occasions, saying you didn't do this right, you said that. Yet I have it in email proving their lies. This is very, very typical of arrogant people. You plain and simple, as particularly when it comes to something such as this that you can either fix for someone else or repackage, you take people who are unhappy with your product for one reason or another. Maybe I just didn't like it. Well, I shouldn't have to pay for it if it doesn't work to my expectations when I was misled. So the point is that you do that as simple as that. It's not really complicated. But there was no help there. Nasty little emails were sent by this person, and I'm supposed to spend hours and hours going through processes trying to get this thing to work. Well, I found with pretty much any kind of electronic or software programs that, if you can't get it running within 15 to 20 minutes, it isn't going to work. And if it takes more trouble or time than that, is it really worth it to you? I mean, the point is that as a professional, making over $100 an hour, I'm not going to spend hundreds and hundreds of my time trying to figure out somebody's idiot software that they're too ignorant and stupid to get to work properly. So the bottom line is that things either work or they don't, and you either have a fix or not. Telling someone, of course, we know that everyone is at different levels of computer understanding. As a person who's been using them for 20 years, I know the fact of testing things, pulling out, rebooting computers to make sure things work, and all the things. I mean, the actual installation process, the wizard they had, and what you're supposed to do is pretty simple. This was done well, if you can call something that doesn't work well. I mean, it's not complicated. You download the driver, you download the program, then they're supposedly connect with each other, and you're on the way. It's very simple. They give you step-by-step instructions on how to plug the thought stream into your computer and so forth. It's all very, very easy. Either it works or doesn't. And if it doesn't work, what are you supposed to do? Well, their basic opinion, the manufacturer, was the fact that it's too bad, it doesn't work, but you're never going to. Well, the point is that that's not with payment systems. You have a right to demand your money back when you don't, when a product doesn't work. Plain and simple. So, but it was just too bad in their aspect, and they didn't like the fact that I told them to this. And of course, I have all the emails to prove their arrogance and their horrible lack. And the fact that this person gave that at 8 to 9 o'clock at night would return your emails after he was completed with his entire day and got around to you and didn't follow through consistently either. That didn't in any way assist to get things going. So, and then stating that they want to spend hours and hours of you screwing with it to get their crappy product working is the height of stupidity. So this is a definitely stay away from. There are lots of these biofeedback tools out there. One called Zen, and which are very cool, that take you through different steps of greeting the master or controlling things. But there are many of these out there which we'll be reviewing in the future. Certainly not something that you have to get from a foreign, arrogant country that's going to give you no customer service and very little benefits. I mean, you're talking about graphics of moving a ball around, while many other ones have you go through much more interesting and complicated areas, which are a lot more fun to use. And of course, anytime you get any technology like this, you want to make sure that you could return it. Maybe it doesn't work right. Maybe the sensors aren't good. Maybe so many things about something like this just make this a garbage product. And some of these products retail for hundreds and hundreds of dollars, $300, $400, $500, and all those things involved. So this is something that you have to be careful with when you purchase it. But the technology is very old. There's nothing new to this, and it should work well. And of course, you want to find someone who cares about their product, who takes time to do it, that it isn't their hobby or something they do on the side. All of this shows a very poor company in general, and the fact that they have horribly misspelled and put together English instructions, as little as they are, shows you how much they really care about that and the market. As most Europeans, they're more than happy to take your money, and they're more than happy not to give you any service or decent products. So these are things you have to watch for. Of course, things are made around the world, and you always have to experiment with who has what. But, make sure you get a full understanding. If something is bad, that you're going to get your money back. This was, as far as I'm concerned, a defective product. Now, whether it was defective entirely in its design, which I believe that's part of it, or whether it was defective just what was sent to me, it didn't work. What are we supposed to do with it? Are you supposed to sit on $300 because the product doesn't work? Because they're too busy guzzling beer and wearing little leather pants around? So what are we supposed to do there with their little incompetent fool who's out there telling you they're not going to give you a refund on junk? This is junk. It doesn't work. You should be happy to take it back and say, I'm sorry. Plain and simple, like any person would do. I mean, this is what you do in the real world. Now, in Europe, they don't like to have products brought back. So, but it's not the way in the United States, where if it doesn't work, you bring it right back to the store. If you've bought it at Best Buys or Walmart, if this product didn't work, you'd bring it back to the store and say, it's defective. I want my money back. And they would say, sorry, sir, here's your money back. Apparently, this hasn't transferred for those greedy people who were never taught a lesson when they should have been. So as we move through these understandings of what's going on, this is a terrible product with terrible backing, and of course you won't see much reference to it anywhere on the net. There's only tiny bits of information, and I can certainly see why. It certainly doesn't have a following, and I frankly doubt that it works very well, period, if you can ever get to work at all. Remember, people, make sure you like this video. Make sure you subscribe to this channel. Lots of other great information. I'm saving you a lot of money, time, and effort. Support this particular channel by subscribing. Click on the links below. Go to our review page of products and other information, which is so valuable to you, it's hard to put a price on it. Save yourself time and money. Know what's the best. Follow the links and get the wisdom that you need, and spend your time empowering yourself, not playing with technology, to try and get it to work.